Well, I believe this is the, let me see, the second Saturday where this has occurred, where I have basically said, "Hey, I'm going to do a stream today at 6," and then like in the midnight hours, I fall asleep, so I just end up putting it off. But we're here, and we're live, and we're going to express this. I was planning on doing a climate stream today. I put together a little bit more of the stuff, but I have to tell you, I got back to that same old disillusion, and uh, it's tied to just a multitude of things. I've said before, it always feels like the more you do stuff, the higher the chances are you just get like crapped on. Um, to put it, I guess, in its simplest terms, I was getting between March of this year and I think June. I got really sick of a pattern, which was that every time I would do an installment of my, do I have 4 people? Wow. Oh, of my show, it would be like, you do this one piece, then you have nothing done with the next one. It takes another month to finish that. So I did something pretty radical. I started on the one that was right after the next one that I was supposed to do, in this chronological order. Um, and as I'd say maybe halfway through. And just to clarify, I sent this person they claim to have recorded this stuff back in March. I was about halfway through, and I put the the lines that this person has, onto the just the editing software. And I'm looking at this script, and there's a line that just like skips over. I go, oh, they didn't record this, and it's been a hassle to get this person to record new stuff ever since. So I go, okay, well that's one line, whatever. Let me just see what else they're missing, or if they're missing anything else. Guys, it was like 5, 6, 7 lines. And so I sent him a message. I go, hey, I need this from you because I'm trying to finish this, in some amount of time, basically. And the thing that often happens is that when I don't have the lines to do a script, like to actually edit the entire thing to fruition. What's happened in the past is that I'll say, "Man, this is stupid," and then go edit something else, like put something else together in the meantime. Because when I don't have, it's kind of like if someone says, "Hey, we have a 1,000, I don't know, piece puzzle, but we only have 998 pieces here for you." Well, you're going to kind of think to yourself, why do I want to put together a puzzle that you guys are admitting doesn't even have all the pieces? You being self-aware of the fact that the thing is missing all of its pieces, and that nothing you do in that moment will give it all of its pieces, is enough for it to just seem really aggravating. Uh, but I just kind of say, okay, whatever. This person is probably, maybe will record this stuff. I don't know. They've done this before, and I said to them, in another message, I said, look, uh, you have chosen not to record anything for the last couple of months, other than back in March when I had to basically, in a kind of metaphorical sense, twist your hand. I had to keep saying, "Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do this?" Just to clarify. No one was physically, just people like to misrepresent my words all the time. So if you don't record ahead of me as you did before, you're going to keep running into this problem where I get to another one of these, and then your stuff isn't finished. And no response. I've heard back from them one time in the last 5 times I've tried to contact them. So I said, okay, well, you know what? That screws over my plan to do this second one, this one that as I said earlier, I started on. That was not the next one I was supposed to do, but the one right after that. And I go, okay, you know what? I'll just do stuff for the one that was right after the other one. So I start editing that, and then this person, when I have their stuff from January. This is when they recorded their stuff. So I go and I look at the content that they have, or rather, I start going through the lines they have, and one of them is missing. I go, you know what? That's not bad, because this person did all of the other pieces. So I send them a message. I go, hey, you're missing a line, and I'm responding to when they asked me to send them some of the other stuff so they could record it. Remember, this is one line, a single line, and it's about 4 words. Their response is to say, I will record this next week. Now, understand something about me as a person who has been doing this project for 3 years. I've had a lot of people who have become sick, who've had like life shift on them, and I say, you know what, if you can send this, you need another week, 2 weeks, whatever, because even if I have an empirical desire to kind of get this done as quickly as I can, I'm not a narcissist, so I understand that people's lives are affected by circumstances outside of my control or theirs. But you can't convince me that it takes an entire week to say 4 words. Like there's no way for me to believe that. If you want to say that there's people in your house, you know, I mean, you can record when they're. I don't buy it. That's all I'm saying. I didn't buy it. I thought it was really ridiculous, and it was almost like these two, and neither one of these people are aware of each other. I should also mention, so it's not some coordinated effort. It's just one thing on top of another, and when someone has, to use a nice term, a lack of success, uh, when it relates to relationships and whatnot, a lot of times they look to get gratification out of like their career stuff they do on a level of professionalism. And when that is denied to them, not because they didn't find the time to do it, but because someone couldn't sit down and record a line of dialogue or a couple lines of dialogue after months of you not asking them to do anything because you were behind them, and it seemingly takes them months just to do that small piece, it drives you crazy because you have to sit here. I mean, guys, remember, each installment I have to draw between 500 to 600 images. I have to sit back and edit that stuff for hours. I have to color all of it out. Just there's a lot of work that goes into this, and I don't I hate the fact that I can put all of this work into something and it can never come out because some dingbat can't sit back and record some lines. I actually mentioned I had a separate project. I haven't put on this channel because it's in its infancy, but I have a separate one that I did the first piece of back in October of last year, and I was able to do the second one, but I got discouraged. I said, what's the point of me being able to do the second one, but then I never am able to do any of the other ones because of this voice actor situation. So I go on this website and I talk to at least over a dozen VAs, and they either say no or they don't respond. It's one of those two things where basically, the door is always locked, in a metaphorical sense. And this started to drive me crazy, not because it made me think that my stuff was so undesirable or whatever the hell, but because it began. Like, let me just also clarify this. If I'm doing a script that's like 16, 17, 18 pages, and it's the only thing I'm working on, um, usually it can be done in about 3 weeks to a month if it's just the sole focus I have. And I'm not editing in like a ridiculous, because I've done some days where I just draw a whole bunch of stuff or edit a whole bunch of stuff. So on a usual given amount of time, it's about a month if you're like really pushing that out. And I'd say that's not that much time in the grand scheme of things because there's only like what 11, 12 of these things on average. So when you're looking for a VA, right, this person who has to just sit down and read a piece of paper and just recite what is there on there. Just a very simple thing to do, and I mean, I know children that can do this. We've seen children do this. So when this person has to just sit there and read this paper, you, let me put it like this: it took 3 months to get someone to do that role, and that might not seem like that insane of a thing, but or it might to you, but also factor this in. In the time it took to get one of these pricks on that website to sit back, and it wasn't even on that website, it was someone else who actually was like, wow, that is ridiculous. I'll get this done right now. They were on another platform. I think it was Discord, but it took 3 months to get someone to sit back, record some stuff, and send it to me. And they did it very quickly. And the same day I sent them the thing. And I mean, I couldn't fathom that I could have done three of these in the amount of time it took you know, one of these clowns to sit back and just record some stuff. And you know, it's there was actually a woman I used to talk to about 2 years ago. She has the distinction of being the last female I spoke to who I ever apologized to at all. And that wasn't because I felt genuinely sorry, it's because you know you're trying to everybody's trying to get laid at this point. Um, she had said something to the effect of, you know, if you just say this, whatever, and I said to her, I said this phrase, you can't repair broken bones with tape. You know, you're offering solutions that are not big enough for the issues. Because even if these people turn this stuff in, you know, the ones that haven't that are missing their pieces, I'm still gonna have to deal with this in like what 2, 3 more months. You know, whenever I inevitably get to the parts that they choose not to record, like these people. So there's about 7 or 8 people on this thing. I had two of them who every time you sent them a script, it took them about maybe a week or two to just do it. That they're so far ahead of all of these other people, it's not even funny. There's another one who is pretty similar in that way. They impressed me so much. I gave them a break. I let them just. I said, you know what, you because they got out of they graduated from school or something. I was like, you know what, you did great. Thank you. Enjoy your summer because they're so far ahead of everybody else. It doesn't even matter if they don't do the last couple of ones I did. They're just I probably won't get to where they are if I do one of these a month until like next year. That's how just in advance they are. But when it comes to the other half, the other three people, they they will sit here and like not record anything unless you aggressively pursue them. And I'm not just talking about because I said before, I don't expect people to do this every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. But when you know someone is progressing through a project and you choose to just sit on your behind until they keep sending you messages over and over, it just becomes a hassle for that person because you now have to make these people aware of the thing they committed to do. And you know, I brought up the tape, you know, as far as like trying to use that to fix bones because I actually had someone before say, well, why don't you just pay people? I said, look, I'm sorry, but and you know, you can get pissed, they can get upset all they want over this. I don't see any of these people as doing work that requires payments. You know, one of the reasons that we have a lot of volunteering when it comes to these positions is that usually when people are impressed by what you do voluntarily, they'll go and actually start paying you for doing what you do. So if I am really disgusted, you know, just as a that's putting it lightly at the conduct of half of the people working on this stuff. Uh, on average, I'm not really inclined to say, oh yes, let me give them money for sitting back and not doing their job for 3 months. That's why I would never consider that, among other reasons. Um, but yeah, it was like just this pattern of being, you know, crapped on. Um, I told you you can take the situation with the chicks, you can take this, and you can all just put it in part of a category. There was a quote I heard about how you know people make plans and God laughs at that. I said no, people make plans and other people screw them up because they don't do their parts. You know, when I was doing the one from the part from that got released back in I think it was May, I had done most of it. I'd say by halfway through that month, and then the exact same voice actor that didn't do their part or didn't do half of their lines for that installment did the exact same thing. It was almost like, you know, this is literally a deja vu just a few months later. And I said, how do you not realize? Because they're talking about, you know, they're coming with some health issues. Like, look, you know, I'm sorry, I don't feel sympathetic because you had months to do this. And not only did you not do it, but when you turned it in, you know, after supposedly getting around to it, You didn't even record the whole thing. And they kept trying to say, oh, well, you know, the way the thing is formatted, I couldn't. It's like, look, every single other person that works on this misses on average one line. I've never seen anyone when they record this miss more than a single line. This person is missing like six or seven of them. So if everyone but you can do this, and they have like one thing they forget to they like skip over by accident, I don't feel sympathetic, sorry, or any kind of compassion because I've been doing that for the last 3 years, guys. This has been going on. I'll just give you the earliest example. When I was doing the third installment, which came out in like May of 3 years ago, it came out in May of 3 years ago, not because it took that like because the last one before that was in February. It didn't take 3 months to make that. It took 2 months for me to get sick of waiting for this voice actor to turn their stuff in, and what they end up doing. I really, these people make me so sick. They will say they're going to do it, and then when they'll like slowly start to disappear, and then if you message them, they won't respond, and you just have to like, I guess, take the hint that they flaked on you, and that's exactly what that person did, and it really pissed me off because sometimes I actually think about the fact that I really was willing to sit here for 2 months and just put up with their stupidity. And the only time I'm willing to do that now is if it's with someone that has been around for years or something, and even with them, there's a limit. I need to have some kind of update or whatever. I can't just like I will never do that again. And but that goes back to the central point of what I was saying, which is that it's like every person that gets involved with stuff relating to me, whether it's on a personal or professional level, they always want you to empathize and get what they're going through. Oh, I feel so tired today, so I don't want to record your thing. But hell, did they ever say maybe this person that has to draw 500 to 600 images per installment might feel tired? That has to stay up till late hours of the night on average to edit the stuff might be tired. They never do that. Not one time at all. Nothing. Just always, me, 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 me. And that's the problem with the US with just contemporaries of mine. That's why I don't talk to them. They all want the same thing of like trying to get something out of you, which in this case is your sympathy and your time and your patience. But then they can never return the same thing back. Like I've never had one of these people go, "Oh, you sent me this stuff a while ago. I just recorded it. Here you go." Um, or if they do that, they go right back to their previous pattern of trying to put stuff off until the last minute for as much as they can. I had a voice actor, and I spoke about them before on here. They were pissing me off. I'm not upset with them anymore because I get the game they're playing. They recorded some stuff in advance for me. I said thank you. I sent them uh, two more installments, and this is stuff that what I was thinking they were going to do was every couple of weeks they'd record some stuff, and in that way they would have like this steady climb of being a little bit ahead of me, right? Instead, I finish the two that they send, and I say, hey, can you do this? No response. So when I finish the other one, I'm like, I cannot progress until you do this. And it took them maybe about 5, 6 hours to get back and like have both of them going. It was like, oh my God, this person is purposely trying to put off doing this stuff for as long as they can. Because I thought they might have like some kind of obligations in real life that may no, they're not busy. They're just sitting at their house. I was like, wow, they need me to tell them you are literally destroying what I'm trying to do and to like finish all the ones before whatever last one they were on, uh, to actually get off their behind and do what they committed to doing. Like it was so incomprehensible to me that you could have people like this is a person who's actually been in stuff and they're that damn lazy. Oh my God. And then people try to say that when you go through difficult things you learn from. It's like, yeah, I learned from it. It makes me dislike this field of profession all the more. Um, There was actually I was talking to my friend when he was over here. That's why the live show last week wasn't as long as it usually is, where it's like an hour and a half. When he came over here, I was telling him about, I'm so sick of these people that I'm thinking of after this season is over, canceling the show and continuing as a comic. At least then I wouldn't have to put up with some, clowns not being able to record stuff. I mean, there's solutions to these things that, really can be as cutthroat as possible. I tried to do it in this way because I thought a visual medium with sound and, some slight semblance of movement would be more appealing than just, hey, look at this page over here, look at that page, look at that page, look at that page. But it really seems like, the more you try to, because it's like, first you have to put up with these people, then you've got to edit the stuff, make sure you have no technical difficulties. Because I actually did run into one this week where it was like some picture I put in there, and this I've seen this happen with Apple stuff before. When you use iMovie, it like started to get smaller, and then if I put it on YouTube, it'll like it will cut off every time that picture's on there. That's not a thing I can let happen with because it actually messes up the visuals. You get what I'm saying? So, you have to do that, and then you come on here and you get like what, 40, 50, 60 views for doing that. And then you have to tell yourself, "Oh, this doesn't bother me as I sit here for an entire month and edit this stuff." So I said I don't have patience with people anymore because it's like all they do is make everything worse that they're involved with. Like, one of the best piece of advice I ever received online, because a lot of people online give advice to people they don't know. They think that they have some kind of relationship with them because they see them through a computer screen. The best advice I ever received was the one where the person said, just do whatever project video thing you want to do and then like, get off of these websites. And that's what I try to do when I put something up. I might, come back, favorite some comments, but other than that, I don't participate in talking to any of these people because it's a prerequisite of them thinking they can like do all kind of sort of things to you and just never have any repercussion. And whenever you say that word, people like to jump to some ridiculous standard of violence that you yourself never said, but they're dumb like that. Uh, and it always feels like a lot of these people, like part of the reason I don't comment on much stuff that annoys me on YouTube is because I really have no time to watch stuff that I know pisses me off. That's why I don't go on Fox's channel. That's why I don't go on, the Daily Wire, any of these other networks. Um, because I believe the best function of life, of the internet, of really all of these different facets of the modern era is to derive either entertainment or fulfillment or enjoyment out of your opposing the various things that are around you. And so when I'm willing to sit there and actually create my own fulfillment by uh, doing these different installments, but I can't finish it because someone won't do their contribution to it. It's mind numbing. And like again, these people aren't on the same wavelength as I am. See, I'm not, I said before that I don't see life as a video game where I just keep spawning and like being able to do the exact same thing every day. That I recognize that there is a eventual end to all of this, which is what causes me to continuously crank out stuff on a daily basis, whether it's some on here or some other place. A lot of these people they don't have that feeling because they don't they don't see death as an imminent thing. They don't realize it as anything that could actually like happen with soon or just when you don't expect it. And as someone that has had that experience with it, not actually suicide or anything, just like knowing it's a thing that can happen, you're a lot less willing to extol your energy with things that you know get on your nerves. Like the only reason I don't fire a lot of these people is because I genuinely believe after that experience I had back in March and April and May of like going and trying to talk to these people and getting somebody to record for this stuff, that I probably couldn't find anybody else. Even if I went back on that website, I'm not even joking. I am so just disillusioned with trying to get VAs for this stuff that I almost want to just say screw it. And the biggest reason I even continue doing this stuff is because I have genuine appreciation for those same three people, that same half of the people that work on this, who every time you sent them a script, they would do it. If they didn't do it, they would say, "Hey, I'm going to get around to it," and they would do it. They kept their end of the bargain. So, I can't let them down as far as like, you record this stuff and then this person says, "Screw it," because you know some other person wouldn't do their part. That's one of the principal reasons that I'm willing to put up with this nonsense. And it is actually words that are much more severe than the one I just used. But like, I'm not trying to get you know I said before, the main reason I don't swear on here is because people like to use anything to try and make their case for why something shouldn't be uh, seen as so serious. Look, I have thought about a lot of this stuff, and it just I keep trying to convey this point to people. The way life is structured right now, as far as I can see and as far as I've experienced it, is it's filled with a lot of people, whether it's they're working with you, whether you are attracted to them, who want to get something out of you, and then once that's over, toss you out like an empty potato chip bag. I had the people who are sitting up here talking about you should, if you get this amount of money and if you get this, you'll be able to get with a woman. And I kept saying to them, I'm not in the mood for any Johnny come latelys. If I ever did become a millionaire or have some excess of wealth, I would actually dislike this group even more, because it would certify and validate all of the points I have made about them on an individual level collectively. If they started to show interest over that. I had one person on here who had come and sent me some old, booty call message looking for for me to make something to endorse their channel. I said, "You're out of your damn mind." But the whole point of what I'm saying is, notice how it's you have to get all these coins. What does a woman have to do? Oh, just sit pretty and have a taco. Yeah. And a lot of people don't get how those things are connected. They don't understand how, why would you bring these two things up in tandem? I explained that, you know, when you have a series of goals, like, there's a part of me, right? For as sick of a lot of these chicks as I am, I can still sort of get where someone would be really picky about who they get involved with, that in terms of their partner screwing and all that. There's some slight semblance that kind of comprehends. Again, I think they've blown it out to a ridiculous level where if you don't meet their 10 out of 10 thing, they'll just keep on looking and looking and looking, or whatever. I'm not trying to defend them, but I to an extent get the reasoning behind it. Um, so when I mention that, I'm not trying to say that I'm so pissed off over what they did that I can't comprehend the basic rationale. But when you're doing a project, we're talking about, like, when these people would say no, or they wouldn't respond back to me requesting for them to do this stuff. We're talking about you sitting down and reading a piece of paper, and just I for the life of me cannot comprehend. And remember, all these people are on that website saying, "I want to be a voice actor. I want to have my stuff in stuff." That's the kind of grammar they use. But it's like, if they really want that, and someone is saying, "I will let you have this. You don't have to audition. I heard your stuff on other things. It's cool." Like, I don't understand the opposition to doing that. That's really insane to me. But and like, this goes back to this thing where it feels like I'm just this, like I've said before, I live in the twilight zone where things that I can just so basically do. Like I said, I have more lines of dialogue than anybody else in any of these things, because I voice the most people on this thing. I got like 5, 6, 7 different people I voice. So, this is something that, this isn't just director insulting actor. This is the actor saying to other actors that, it's not as difficult as you're trying to make it out to be. But it always feels like, in just on a daily basis, I'm looking at people who are beneath me, like on some kind of intellectual level or work ethic, or just there's something in them that they've put in there. It's not a genetic thing, because I know people that I'm, related to, who act the same way, that like they've put in themselves, I'm going to, if they're a voice actor, I'm going to put this off until the last minute. I'm not going to do this until you hound me over and over again about doing this. Uh, I'm going to quit abruptly for, so you can go and spend another 3 months looking for somebody to do this. Or if they're one of these chicks, I'm going to have a list. I'm going to speak to you, claim I'm interested. If I say no, I can't. And you saw this with the one that, the lady liking Logic. When she was asked, when they go on a date, she couldn't just say no. She had to give me this drawn out. Her answer to my question was like 20 or 30 seconds. It was like half a minute of her just rambling before saying no, which again would have happened at any other points. With all what she just said didn't matter, because we know how these chicks are. They have a quota of things about a person they like, and then if you don't meet that, you know. But you get my point. That it just feels like every single day. Like I actually really hate my past involvement with these websites, as far as convincing myself 3 years ago that going on any of these would result in a partner, because I have seen almost I know people who still do it, no kind of progression or growth in the, I don't know, relationships that any of the people I know have tried to engage in. Like I feel so stupid for ever thinking that any of these people online were worth my time, any of these chicks in person were worth my time. Like it all just feels so useless, and just like I just at that time couldn't convince myself that you could have billions of people, and hundreds and thousands of them just act so stupid, and like be such egotist. Oh, this man is not attractive enough for me. Oh, this guy wants to get in a relationship. Be gone. Um, and like you put all of that on top of a gender bias, right? Like, we talked about the I'm not even gonna bring her up in this, but you can get it when I'm surmising. It's like when you go and I have a person who actually they commented that not all women have 11 guys trying to talk to them, which I never said. So people like to put words in my mouth, but it was really funny, because they still have convinced themselves there's nothing wrong with any of this. Like, these voice actors can sit here, and you can have several, like over a dozen of them, turn you down for recording something off a piece of paper, and you're not supposed to think that group is on average lazy. You can have a bunch of chicks that you try to make laugh every time you call them. You try to adhere to their schedule. You try to understand them on some philosophical, personal level, and then out of nowhere they pull the rug from under you and either stop answering your calls abruptly or declare they're no longer interested. And like no one except you is supposed to see a problem with that. No one besides you is supposed to go, what the hell is wrong with you? Why did you just completely like transform on this guy? Like a lot of these chicks are transformers. When you talk to them a week before and they go, oh, I want to see you in person, and you don't speak to them for, they don't answer you for a week, and then, hey, I'm just letting you know we're done speaking. It's like seeing Optimus Prime. Like they're rolling out. They're about to go to Teletran One and go fight for some energon. Like it really drives me crazy, and that's why I've had to just keep changing my whole outlook on this stuff. Like back when I was, when I did it was the first relationship video I did. It was like, can't I think it was can't get a girlfriend, join the club. I was 17 when I did that. I'm not, and this is my point. I'm not a little kid. I'm not anywhere near underage at this point. And as a result of that, I don't feel the same kind of desire to get with someone. The only reason I would even still go out and talk to any woman at all is to reproduce. I have become comfortable with the idea that I will never have a partner, or if I do, I will never have a partner that actually, cares about me. They're gonna be like the gold diggers that these people online want you to go after. And before someone says, "How could you mischaracterize women that way?" I was like, "Look, I'm not the one who ever said you need to have, be a millionaire or like have 500 some ridiculous amount of cash to talk to some broad that doesn't have a pot to piss in, that has the half of her house falling off. I never advocated for someone increasing their wealth just to speak to some bimbo. I never said that. So I'm not the one who started that narrative. I'm just going off of what was told to me. But because I got used to that being a thing where I actually, as I said before, only chick I ever dated was for 6 days. Every single time I tried to speak to her, I want this, I want that, I want this. Last time we saw each other, I said, I want you to get the hell out of my face. Um, but look, I'm bringing this up to say that at that point, and really throughout all the way up until maybe the year before last, I really thought that if I just speak to enough of these clowns, one of them will, actually be, something close to what I wanted. Like maybe they won't, do like one or two things, but as far as some person you can speak to and not get nervous around because you're trying to always impress them, or else they're going to go leave you and be with someone else. I used to believe that was a thing that was actually attainable. And at this point, I don't buy it. I think that the best I will ever do is a gold digger, and I'm not interested in that. Like I said, no, we're not going to have any Johnny come latelys. I've said before, my friend, the one that I've known since we were in second grade, he's never asked me for a dime. He's never, pissed me off in any actual real way. He stands to gain more than any of these chicks I've spoken to, just by sheer the amount of time he's put into interacting with me. I really appreciate him for doing that, and it's so rare to you might meet a person like him maybe two or three times in your entire life. Just there is a real difference between him and a lot of his contemporaries. It's not even funny, and I don't even think he realizes it. But you put this on top of the voice actor thing, right? It's like here you have a group of people. They're on this website, you know, declaring that they want to do this one thing, and you say, hey, you know what? I can deal with that. Here's a thing I want you to do. Oh, I'm not interested. Oh, thanks for the info. I'll let you know if I want to do it. Nothing back. And you again in this age of like, see, this is what I realized. People don't want to. They want it both ways. They want people to be entitled to turn you down, to piss you off, to get on your nerves with the choices they make. But then you can't express disdain for the choice they made. So, for example, I've always said these different chicks can say no all they want, until the cows come home. But I can say they're stupid. I can say they're dumb. I can say that they're ridiculous for making the choices that they made. And look, when I say that, I don't feel bad because whether I'm saying they're dumb or they're the most brilliant person in the world, it's not going to change the end result, which is this person after me investing time in them deciding to get up and abruptly walk away. Like that's my point, that they're not upset with the person who says, "Oh, this man just sat here and tried to appeal to me in all these different ways and make me laugh and try to take care of me. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, let me go and disappear on them." They're not upset by that. They're upset by you saying that person is stupid and doesn't know what they're missing. That offends them more than the actions of the person. That's why I said rhetoric matters more than actions at this point. You go over to the thing with this voice actor stuff, right? You probably would have some voice actors if they heard this get offended and go, "Oh my God, how could you speak so disparagingly about the people you want to participate in your thing?" So because I'm a sore loser. If I feel that a goal I have is being undercut by someone else's lack of willingness to do the thing that they said they would do or the part that they said they would do, I'm gonna speak about them negatively because I'm sick and tired of always being the one, whether it's in my personal life, as I mentioned with the chick stuff, or in my professional life, as I mentioned with the project, that puts out all of this work that turns themselves into this machine that continuously does stuff, and then the other person can just sit back and like ride my coattails to have anything to bear on their name. Like the same one who won't do their stuff now, when they first got started, they were putting uh episodes of my thing on their page as like forms of reference. They were like, hey, I was in this, I was in that. And I didn't have a problem with it because they were doing their thing. But the way they act now, you would think they were ashamed to be a part of it. And don't again, the only reason I don't try to get rid of any of these people is because I literally have nothing to replace them with, other than more, time wasters and frauds who say they want to do something and then don't do it. That's the only recourse. More of the same. And that's why I don't talk to chicks anymore, because people can tell you, oh, this one's into art, this one likes to dance, whatever. If they all do the exact same thing of saying no to you, they're all the same. It doesn't. And look, when you say that, it doesn't mean you're stating that every single person has the same personality traits. You're saying they're all the same because they do the exact same thing. Let's give an example. Say someone in the comment section was a woman. Say they dated, I don't know, me and then some other person, right? And I like to draw, this other person doesn't. But in both of these relationships, we are abusive. We slap her. We punch her around. That would mean that in spite of that difference or whatever differences we might have on a personality level, there is no difference in terms of the relationship because we're doing the exact same thing as each other. And like, this isn't a difficult thing to understand. That's why I said I live in the twilight zone, because very basic things that people should be able to grasp and comprehend, like, they've turned it into this real psychological challenge. And it's just not that complicated. Like, if you're a chick, just talk to some person that actually wants to speak to you and isn't trying to screw you every 5 seconds. Like, that's not a hard thing to understand. And I've said before that even for as sick of them as I am, I gave my friend the example because he's 20. I said, if you start talking, if there's a woman who's, let's say, just as an example, 24, has her own job, has her own house, you're not going to think that person is trying to get something out of you, as far as financial anyway, because they can afford their own stuff. Um, and that's always been my thing. I've never, like, that I've never thought about people's excesses of wealth when trying to talk to them. Like, I've never wondered how much is this person, because that's never been a thing that mattered to me. But I can see it matters to the other side, which is why I don't engage with many of them. Uh, I'm just sick of it, and just to close this out, I consider myself a person who really has very few goals in life, that require the need of other people. I wanted to get married a long time ago. I wanted to reproduce. I still want that second one, but I've accepted that's not going to be the case. Not because I'm unworthy or I'm stupid. It's because a lot of these chicks are just not willing to take the time to get to know someone that actually is serious about doing anything. That's why the only person I can think of who's actually having a kid is, they just decided not to buy rubber that one time they screwed. Oh, look, oops, there it is. So, I've accepted that that's a thing that's not going to happen because of someone else's, of another group's lack of intellect overall. Um, and as far as the project thing, it's like, yeah, that could still happen, but if it doesn't, it's not going to be because I was too lazy to do my civic duty or my part. It's because a lot of these VAs just they aren't interested in extolling the same amount of effort, even if it's a much more minimal role that I am. And I have to accept that the people around me are inferior, not because I'm smarter than they are, not because I'm more hardworking than they are, but because they've decided to be that. They've decided to sign up for stuff that they don't do. They've decided to start speaking to people that they have no intention of talking to for any actual prolonged amount of time. And I just make accommodations based around that. I've said before, I have no problem getting on here and talking about what pisses me off, because I'm not fake. I'm not trying to, like, do the same thing a lot of these other commentators do, where it's like, I don't need anybody. I'm good. Like, no, I fully acknowledge the role that other people can play in the stuff that I do. I sometimes think of actually what life would have been like 2, 3 years ago if any of these chicks had actually wanted to start anything that was stable and was about supporting the other person, accepting them for who they were, and just the actuals of what a relationship should be, not this thing of tricks and you know nonsense that has been employed in the last couple of years. But I can only deal with reality, and the reality is I'm surrounded by a lot of people who don't want to live up to their end of the bargain, and I am getting the consequences of it. And I would be lying if I said it didn't piss me off, if it didn't diminish my opinion of these groups and these people. But again, I just keep trying to fight against it. I'm not so disgusted by this stuff that I can't accept the fact that there's at least a couple of people who are doing this. And there's like this slight glimmer of hope that, maybe we can find a few more and then, this can all be over. Um, it's every day is a battle, and it's I said before, I get more aggravated each year because I'm not I'm aware of my own mortality. I'm aware that I am eventually not going to be able to do any of this stuff anymore, and that encourages me to dish out as much of it as I can while I can. And it's so pathetic that the one thing you need from any of these people, which is so much smaller than what you yourself do, they uh, they can't put into fruition. But hey, that's how life is. Like, some of us are givers and extol the effort, and some of us are receivers who trash that effort and reduce it to nothingness.